Hi, I'm Annie Rutherford, and this is one of my favourite scenes from Isabel Bogdan's The Peacock. In this scene, a psychologist and two colleagues on a rather dysfunctional team-building weekend all use the hot tub. The drambuie hit Rachel first. She wondered aloud what all the buttons at the front of the hot tub were actually for, and pressed one. A light went on beneath the water, and all three of them suddenly felt considerably more naked than they had before. Rachel quickly turned the light off again and pressed another button, which turned on the whirlpool. There was suddenly a loud bubbling. Air came out of unexpected holes in the walls and floor, and all three of them were briefly lifted from their seats by the churned-up water and pushed in directions they hadn't anticipated. The hot tub was suddenly very small. Skin encountered skin, limbs drifted any which way, hands and arms brushed against other bodies. Feet and legs brushed against other feet and legs, and none of the three quite knew who they had just touched and where, and who had just touched them, and none of them could have said if the hot tub was too small or just small enough. None of the three found these moments of touch unpleasant, but none of them would have admitted that. Truth be told, they would all have liked it to go on for a bit longer if that hadn't been impossible. They all yearned for physical contact, but all three of them assumed that they were alone in this desire, and so they pretended to go back to their places and to get away from each other as quickly as possible. Rachel's last boyfriend had split up with her a few months ago, and that was for the best. On the whole, she was content being single for now. She didn't necessarily need a man to be happy. With the setup here, though, being on her own without any colleagues, and with her role as facilitator, meaning she didn't directly belong to the group, she was suddenly overcome with loneliness and a yearning for human touch. She would have liked to just nestle up to one of the men, or to both of them. She found them both quite attractive in their own ways. But of course that wasn't an option. She had a role to play here, although the roles seemed to be blurring in the dark and the snow. Nonetheless, Andrew was happy in his relationship with his wife. He'd spent half his life with her. He loved her, but some things weren't quite as exciting after half a lifetime. Brushing against the limbs of strangers, however, was exciting. The young psychologist was very pretty, and David was a man, a naked, gay man. Andrew had never touched a naked man before, and he would never have believed that doing so wouldn't bother him, that he might even find it pleasant. Something tickled his lower leg, someone's thigh, or just a jet of air. Could you be sure? His heart beat a little faster. Luckily, it was dark. David was very happy with his husband too. They'd only been married for just over a year, and he was the happiest he'd ever been, but that had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that at this moment he yearned for human warmth and human skin. Everything was different beneath the water and in the dark. What happened in the whirlpool had nothing to do with their everyday lives. There was only them, and the warm water, and the stars, and the skin of the others. Rachel turned the whirlpool off. The men laughed self-consciously, and she said, "It had been a bit too loud, hadn't it? And it was so nice and quiet out here." And the men agreed with her. Then they grew quiet again, and sensed the ghosts of each other's touches still tingling. And more than anything else, they would have liked to turn the bubbles back on to let themselves be touched again. They all sighed silently and asked themselves whether their legs were still tingling from the bubbles, or whether that was someone else's leg after all, and if so, whose? But they didn't dare move to find out.